Nick Goldschmidt, winemaker for Forefathers and Goldschmidt Wines, plus many others. And today I'm just going to talk a little bit about Chile and Argentina. I've been making wine in Chile since 1989, and I've been making wine in Argentina since 1994. For those who haven't been to Chile and Argentina before, like New Zealand, it's dominated by a big fault line, and this is what we call the Andes. It's a relatively extreme situation, as you can imagine, but the two major cities that are points of reference for me are Santiago in Chile and Mendoza in Argentina. And here we have the coast, and in Chile we also have the coastal range. And the appellations go from the Aconcagua in the north, we have Santiago, we have Maipo, Rapel, and Rapel is a very interesting appellation because it's actually made up of two main rivers that flow into one. One's called the Cachapó and one's called the Colchagua, and I find both of these areas very interesting. And then south of Rapel we go into Curico, which are what we call the central region. But the most important thing in Chile is where you are in terms of height. Are you high up in the Andes, where we have a lot of water and free draining, or are you close to the coast, beyond the coastal range? And traditionally, all the vineyards in Chile have been planted in what we call the central area because the infrastructure was very easy for us to get around. That was where the roads were, and in the early days when I started making wine in Chile, there was only one road. The Pan American Highway ran north-south. These days, we now have infrastructure out here on the coast, and it's very easy for us to now grow much cooler grape varietals. Meanwhile, over in Argentina, we have two main appellations, or two main areas. One's called San Juan and one's called Mendoza, which most people have heard of before. And Mendoza, focusing primarily on that, is made up of four appellations. We have what we call the central region. The central region is the most traditional region, again close to a major metropolitan area. When I started going to Mendoza, there was only about 400,000 people in Mendoza. Now there's 1.5 million. And so that city has really expanded and eaten up primarily Vistalba. And Vistalba for me is one of the primo appellations of the central region. But the central region is made up of Pedregal, Vistalba, Agrelo, La Lunta, Luján, and a few other smaller appellations. We also have this appellation in the east, which we call the eastern region. And this is where we grow a lot of Syrah, Torrontés, and a little bit of Pinot Grigio coming on now. And then we have San Rafael. San Rafael is a little bit more difficult to grow grapes in because we often get hit by hail, and also it's a very arid area. And then more recently, the interesting area for us is what we call the Uco Valley. And the Uco Valley is where I grow a lot of grapes. And there are the main regions of the Uco is the Tupungato, and then we have the central region where the two main rivers come through, and this is Tunuyán, Altamira, Miraflores is up in this area, and then on this side we have La Consulta. And so La Consulta, Tupungato, and this other central region, they go together to make up the Uco. Just quickly touching on San Juan, the pieces that I find interesting, or where I typically have been working, is in the Tulum Valley. The Tulum Valley is a very arid, very high salt content area. And then up in Pedregal, different to Pedregal being from here, Pedregal being from up in the mountains, is very high altitude. In fact, these vineyards will be covered in snow in the winter, so very, very cold. But these appellations give very different flavor profiles, and very interesting wines are coming from these areas now, and I'll certainly touch on those on videos going forward.